Hey everyone, and welcome to the Joomla Shack conference. I'm delighted to have Adam back with us for a second year. Last year, he took us through the ins and outs of J2 Store, one of the most powerful e-commerce extensions for Joomla. And over the last few months, Adam's been incredibly busy. It's been a really good year to be in the e-commerce space, particularly in Joomla. And Adam has seen a lot of business, a lot of new companies coming online, and really getting a lot of value out of their e-commerce stores. And today he's going to focus on helping us sell more with our Joomla site. Adam, welcome.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Steve. And yeah, it's with the global pandemic, it's definitely changed a lot of things in globally. One of them I think is back at the beginning of the year when everybody was home quarantined. They had a month or two of sitting around wishing that they had spent more time being able to optimize their sites and sell more while they were at home, so they weren't affected as much. And those that really took the time to either hire somebody or dive deeper down the rabbit hole in this area really had a chance to benefit. And so it's not all doom and gloom. There are lots of companies that are actually doing better now than they did the same time last year. And a large part of that is because the business model is shifting from more brick and mortar stores and even big box stores to more online stores where you can create personal custom experiences for your users and be able to give them the experience that they can't get from even the Amazons. Whereas good as Amazon is, they are so good for everybody that not everybody wants to have something that's good for everybody. Sometimes they want to have something that's good for what exactly they're looking for and to have that personal experience. So, as I mentioned briefly before, if you're on this call, you either build sites for others or you are looking for tips and really some assistance on where to start on your own site on how to squeeze more juice out of the fruit. And that's really what it comes down to because I deal a lot with e-commerce customers. Not all of them come to me with the desire to build an e-commerce platform on Joomla because many of them don't realize really what can or can't be done. And so at the end of this, hopefully, I will be able to at least spark some curiosity down certain pathways that maybe you didn't know existed, and be able to send you down the road with some additional tools and some knowledge on exactly kind of a game plan on where to go from here to at the end be able to actually look at your site in a different viewpoint and say what can we really change, what can we make better for the user experience that can at the end of the day translate into more sales, because that's everything that we do when it comes to e-commerce. All centers around making a better experience for the customer. And the easier you can make the customer experience, then the easier it is for them to give you their money. And at the end of the day, that's what we're looking to do. So really what it comes down to after all the dust clears and looking for what is a keyword to focus on that you really want to try and do at every step of the process is to remove the friction. The more friction that's involved in the process from start to finish at anywhere along the pathway means that you're going to lose customers because it's too complicated. They have to think too hard. You want to make it as seamless and easy as possible. So this isn't going to dive in too much on the technical coding side, but more of before you get to that stage, how do you even know what to do and where do you start? And there's so many things to work on that hopefully this will give you a sort of guideline on where to start, some tools that you can use. And before, if we don't run out of time, I will take you through one of my own sites, the one that actually got started in Joomla 12 years ago that got me down this path, that opened the door for me to help others that are also e-commerce store owners. So really, this is going to be kind of more of a quick guideline review. But the most important things to know is, first of all, you have to know your numbers. If you don't know where you are, you can't really know what to fix and where you're at compared to where you should be or where you want to be. And so the owner of GoDaddy, I remember seeing a quote one time where he said, those things that you measure grow, things that you don't shrink. And so I don't think he was talking about cholesterol, but when it comes to site numbers, it's very true, because if you don't know where you're at, then it's very difficult to know where to start and what to look at and what's working and what's not. And so that's the first thing, is to know your numbers. The next thing is, when it comes to knowing your numbers, what does that mean? How do you even track your numbers? There's so much data out there, and if you don't know what to look for, it's very difficult and overwhelming on where to start. And so I always recommend with every site, especially e-commerce, is number one, make sure you have a Google Analytics account. And not just a normal Google Analytics account, but you have to make sure that you enable the e-commerce section of Google Analytics. It doesn't come enabled by default. It's something that you have to enable. So this is a screenshot of Google Analytics settings. When you're in Google Analytics, in the admin section, you want to make sure that you choose the e-commerce settings and you want to enable it. Now, in this case, J2 Store, which is what I use for most of my e-commerce projects, they have an advanced e-commerce plugin that you have to make sure you set it up. And by doing it this way, in the exact way that you can see on the screen, it actually allows you to check every step of the process. So if somebody jumps out of the checkout process after they've given their billing information, you'll be able to see that. So you can see if there's a part of your checkout itself that is maybe scaring somebody away, or if maybe you need to add some customer reviews on that page, or some more trust indicia, or or remove some things. There may be too much information that's giving them information overload. And so really, this is the first step, is to set everything up, so now you can start really tracking the user experience. Now, the downside to Google Analytics for us is that we don't know exactly who. We just see general numbers. The upside for the customer is that we don't know who they are, and so it allows them to not have as much information tracked as we would like, but probably more information than the customer would like. And so that's the first step. Now, there's other tools that can also be used, to help track your business. Another one that we started using, and something that I've been developing with Alex from Source Coast for the last 6 months, is another component that's we're going to be releasing soon. But the benefit to this is that this is all handled directly through Joomla. And so a lot of these stats are all provided for store owners. So for instance, this is a screenshot that I took of a live customer, and blurred out their names to protect the innocent. And this is an example of a customer who, in the last 90 days, where very quickly they can see how many abandoned sales they've had, what their customer value is, what their store sales were for this 90-day period, and how many new customers they brought on. And that's just at a top level glance. It's kind of like your speedometer, but if you plug into the car computer, you can find so much more. And so as you scroll down, you can get estimates on what sales were for last week, where you're at for the current week, where you're on track projected wise based on your current month sales for the quarter, for the year. The abandoned carts, you can see not just how many items and how much, but if you were to click on view abandoned shoppers, you can actually see who they are. You can see what the makeup of your customers are. Are they returning customers? Are they first-time customers? So you can see where to shift your focus to, which coupon sales, which coupons generated the most, and so on. You can see upcoming subscriptions if it's a subscription-based service, so you can plan ahead and see how much you have in upcoming subscriptions, the type of customers, and there's so much. It's better to have too much information and then figure out what stuff that is important to you than not have enough. And that also includes which products are not just selling the most, but which ones are making the most money. And so a lot of these are all things that really any successful e-commerce company really needs to know. Now, in the section here, it's also important to know what your customer lifetime value is, because if you're spending money on ads on any kind, it's easy to get discouraged if you're spending 50 bucks a day and you're getting one sale for 100 bucks. It's the first instinct is I'm spending $50 to sell a $100 product, and whatever the profit is, you might not think that you're even making any money doing that. But if you know that in this case, the average customer value for this business is $412. Well, you're not spending $50 for that $100 sale. You're spending $50 for that $400 customer. And it makes it easy to be able to put it in perspective and realize that it's so much easier to keep existing customers and to resell to them if they've had a good experience. And so a lot of these numbers are really important to make sure that you could say, hey, the average subscription length, for example, here is 140 days. So we know that if it's on average 140 days, then maybe around 130 days, let's start looking at some email campaigns that we can remind them of the value of the product. We can offer some upsells. We can offer some additional value or some promotions, because we know that if that's what the average, if that's when they usually are dropping off, let's figure out ways that we can plug the hole at the bottom of the boat and reduce the attrition that every e-commerce company has. And so that's the first step, is to be able to go through and know exactly what your numbers are. And so the next thing is once you know your numbers, then you want to be able to use the best tools you can find or afford for the job. Now, anybody that's in the e-commerce space knows there are lots of cloud-based services that in some ways could cost $800, $1,000, $1,500 a month just for one particular service. Now, if you have the budget for it and you have the tools and the bandwidth to be able to set it all up, or you hire somebody to do it and it works, it will pay for itself if it does what it's supposed to. But there's a lot of also tools, and the beauty of Joomla is there's a lot of tools that are available that you can use for the job. And I always say, work with what you have until you have what you want. And so if you can't afford some of those higher end tools out there, there's others that may not offer as much value, but they also don't cost as much, and you can use those until you get enough sales to be able to justify that. And so some of those tools, which I'll actually show you in action on one of my own live sites, on some of the tools that I use on all my e-commerce sites, which we'll show in a second. And then that also follows up with, once you know what tools you have, once you know what the numbers are, you really want to sit back and either have somebody else do a full site review, or if you know what to look for, take as much of an objective standpoint as possible and almost pretend it's not your site, it's somebody else's site, and what would you do differently? Now, it doesn't mean that you have to jump in there and make all those changes today, but if you know what you really want to fix and change, and or if somebody else is able to point those out, it gives you a good starting point. And if you know where the numbers are, then as you start making these changes and you start watching the numbers, you can actually see if these changes really are making that big of a difference. And I'll just tell you that normally when you make these changes, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. There's not one change that's in most cases is going to make a massive difference, especially as your site gets more and more optimized. Everything that you do is going to make a smaller and smaller difference, but at that stage you're also generating so much more revenue, and because you're able to optimize the experience as much as possible, that while you're going through that, those little tiny changes actually can result in some large increases in sales. And once you have that list of what it is to fix and improve on, then start with the low-hanging fruit first. A lot of times you see something, go, I really need to change the overall checkout experience, but maybe if you start with some of the smaller things and kind of remove some of the friction before you get to the checkout, then you'll get more people to actually go to the checkout, and then you can focus on that. But start with the low hanging fruit, the easiest things that you can change, and work your way up. And as we talked about, there's no silver bullet. Every site, especially e-commerce, is always looking to optimize or looking for ways to improve the customer experience. And then you go back, track your numbers, and repeat. And it's a never-ending cycle. Some of you have already found, and some of you will find that really you can get so caught up in it that that's all you focus on, and it can be everything that you focus on. But so there's a balance in everything. But the most important thing is that if you can remove as much friction from the buying experience as possible, you will experience increased sales without having to increase your ad spend, which means that you will earn more without having to spend more. Now, that also means that you have to care more and you have to pay attention more to the numbers. But if you don't, trust me, there's going to be somebody in your space that does, and they will be selling your customers that have already been to your site and didn't have maybe the best experience, and now they go to somebody else. So everything right now is shifting to online. The coronavirus has taken where e-commerce should be, and it's really sped it up 5 years maybe into the future. And so we're looking today at what we would have normally seen 5 years ago, or 5 years from now, actually. And because of that, it's now more important than ever that everything that we do for our shopping experience has been designed to really make it a different, unique, amazing experience that they can be excited about. So this is actually the very first e-commerce site that I got started in back in 2009. I had no idea what Joomla was. The original site was VirtueMart site. And I ended up rebuilding it I think this is the 14th build over the last 12 years now. And it's really, as you get better, you start realizing that there are things that you wish you could do. And so I'm going to go through this briefly and be able to kind of show you and explain to you why certain things are the way they're at, why certain things are not where they are. And hopefully, I'll basically be giving, especially this homepage, an audit, something that I would do for a client that comes to me and says, I know that I could be selling more, but I don't know what to change, or I don't know what is causing the problem. So I'll go through, regardless of what the platform is at that time, the principles and the thinking behind successful e-commerce sites. It doesn't change depending on whether you're using a Joomla or a WordPress or Shopify site. The principles are the same. If you're a house builder, the best analogy is it doesn't really matter at a certain point what type of tools you use. If you build the house and you know how to build a good house, you can use medium, consumer level tools, and you can also use pro level tools that make your job easier, but it won't necessarily compromise the quality of the home. So for starters, you'll notice that this is actually a holiday theme that I create for a lot of my templates that automatically, using Joomla custom templates and updating using different fields from Joomla, I'm able to set it so from the day after Black Friday until January 1st, it goes into holiday mode, which adds a little cap on the logo, and it's not just on my site, it's others, and it throws different holiday cheer throughout the site automatically. And so every year it automatically turns on and turns off. And the beauty of this is that it looks like we have this huge team that's behind this, that's promoting this. And reality is you just set it up once, you set it on the timer, and now you can focus on something else. And so going through the top, if we notice, there's the red banner here. This is for announcements. This is really good for promotions, for sales that you may have going on. This is also a part of the custom template that I've created for this that takes a coupon code, and based on the date range of that coupon code, it drops it in here. This is the name of the coupon. And if somebody clicks on the Shop Now button, what it'll actually do is actually apply that coupon code directly to their shopping cart. So they have that coupon code now in their cart, and now it's theirs to lose. And so that's one way of reducing friction, is that when you have promotion sales and coupons, oftentimes in the old days, even a year or two ago, you used to have to fill out your email address, and then by doing that, you would end up having to wait for an email to get a coupon code. And we used to think, well, we want to get the email address. And the reality is we don't want to get the email address. What we really want to get is the sale. And so in order to get the sale, because by default, we'll get their email address if we get the sale. So with that,
Hey, Adam, a quick question for me. How do you make that work? How do you set up the banner so it automatically adds the coupon?
First of all, this coupon code here, if you notice in the SKU, this is a plugin that I created that you can type in any coupon code that's valid in here. And so you can add this to your email marketing promotions, anything. So if you send a customer directly to the site and you can add this coupon code equals, and then the DD20 is the actual coupon code. That actually triggers it and adds the coupon code directly to the cart. Now, as far as how to schedule this and how I did this, and mind you, guys, I try and do as much Joomla core as possible. So this is actually using Joomla core functionality. I do intertwine them heavily with J2 Store, since they also do that as well. But in this template, if we go through, and I'm taking you through the live site, this is a custom template that I made, and so these are different things that are important to to the e-commerce side, the Facebook Pixel, the Hotjar, the Google API, Google. These are all custom fields that I then bake into it. But the holiday mode here, this is done with a repeatable field, and uses some features. So if when I add this to the template XML file, which every template has its XML file that kind of has these fields and lets Joomla know this is the new line 4 template, or whatever the template name is. I added this holiday mode field, so when it's turned on, then it has a repeatable field that comes with Joomla now. And so I created this repeatable field that you can name the holidays. You can have the holiday start date, end date, which in this case starts December 1st, ends December 31st. And I create different themes. Now, how I'm able to enact it is I actually have a custom CSS file that is specific to each one of these holidays. So when this is triggered and it's on, it turns on the CSS file, which overrides any of the template files. And then when it gets turned off, that CSS file also gets turned off as well. And so you can have, in this case, for 4th of July, for Memorial Day, we have patriotic theme, which switches to the American flag. You can have Halloween, Valentine's, whatever your sites really focus on. You can have all sorts of holiday themes, and the beauty is that once you set these up, you don't have to worry about oh shoot, I got to turn on my holiday theme. So does that help answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, it does. That's a nice touch.
Thank you. And even the top announcement bar, same thing. When do we want the promo to show on the top or bottom? And here's the coupon code that they can click on, and so on. So there's a lot of things that can actually be done using core Joomla, and it doesn't have to be, if you're with J2 Store, if you're using a different e-commerce cart with Joomla, then you just, as long as you know how to tie those two together, then there's no reason why you can't do that. And so just looking at the header briefly, now that we have the shop now call to action at the top, we have a big search button, because we want somebody to be able to not have to search for the search. We want them, if they know exactly what they want, make it easy for them to type it in and find it, because the quicker they can find it, the quicker that they're not get distracted. Their kids come home, they get an email from work that they have to take care of, and then they forget all about it. So, and obviously we want to be able to have the cart very visible and actually say cart. A lot of times we assume that, well, everybody knows this is a cart. they may know it's a cart, but if you actually have it spelled out, same as login designs, all these things, whatever the most important things are that are not links to products, you put them up here. Don't mix your product links with content links, such as here we have ATVs, we have street, dirt, UTV links, all these different links to products and categories. Don't put your about link or your blog link or any of those next to it. You want to be able to have focus, clear. All right. If you go to Amazon, you know that anything you click on the top bar there is going to be product related. If you want to look for reviews, features, any additional content, you have to go to the footer to find any of that stuff. And it's not by accident, it's by design. And going through even this main banner image right here, this is an article category module. This is actually the large image for the article, and then when you shrink it down to the mobile size, it uses a thumbnail, which it takes less space and is more of a square for phones, and so on. And then you can use services like, in this case, I use Brand Featured, which writes a PR piece for your website. They submit it to all these different regional news sources, and then they give you a list of this is where your article has been posted, that talks about, in this case, Redline Superstore. And so then you can actually put as seen on Fox, NBC, because it's actually on those different sites. And so that adds additional trust. The whole purpose of this is to add trust, and make the experience where they say, oh, these guys, this is a big site. These guys have been on, Fox, NBC, which is definitely true. But probably not in the capacity that they are thinking of being on TV and everything else. And then the next thing is you want to make sure that you have very clear categories so somebody can navigate to them very easily if they don't know exactly what they want, but they kind of have an idea of that. And then have different promotions. In this case, shop red, white, and blue. These are different, red, white, and blue themes. You can have a different design. Whatever is custom to your store, make it easy for them to find it. Don't make it look, hard. And in this case, here is kind of a breakdown of what's up here in these drop downs with the different logos. This is a different way of being able to display it in case they don't realize that this menu up here is following them down. These are all core Joomla modules. Every one that's on here, with the exception of the trending designs down here, which is a tags module that I found, but it's using Joomla tags. Each one of these is a tag that is linked to any products that have the Reaper tag or Mad Hatter tag, or so on. But other than that, everything else that's on here is all built using core Joomla modules, heavy custom layouts, but it just shows that with some ingenuity and with the ability of figuring out exactly how everything works, that really the sky is the limit. There's nothing that can't be done if you really want to do it. And so this is the homepage example. So, and just to give an example of something that as far as going through the actual shopping experience and being able to my favorite are usually the UTVs. We actually sell a lot more snowmobiles at this time. As you can imagine, these are graphic kits. And ironically, this is one of those industries that when things get stressful for people, or when the economy's bad, there's actually more sales on sites like these because it's a way to help them escape. Now, this is using J2 Store. There's two different product types that we're using. One is the configurable. The other is a advanced custom field, or advanced product field. And so the advanced ones are the custom design ones. And what the difference is if we were to click on this one, for instance, well, there's 91 right now different possible designs for this product. So I've seen in different Joomla forums where customers have questions. They say, I have a client that came to me and they have 50 different colors and sizes. How do I best display it? And there's lots of different ways of doing it. In this case, we wanted to make it easy for the customer to be able to see the different designs and to be able to actually choose the different designs. And if you notice here also, I'll just say as part of the coupon code, I added additional code in here that when the coupon has been applied, it actually lets them know, hey, your December deals coupon has been applied. So it reminds them that they have a coupon on every page as long as they've come to the site with that coupon code link. And even underneath the price, save an additional 10% at checkout because of their 10% coupon. And so in this case, I ended up using the radio buttons and converting them into a slick slider, so that way they can go through and be able to see the different designs. If they want to see what this one looks like, they can click on that. And this is all using J2 Store options for this particular product. If they wanted to add, let's say, the conspiracy graphic, they click on there, and then because of this particular design, it's also going to ask them for their design color and their background color and their model year. So not all of them are the same. Some of them only have one option. Some of them have, none if it's one that you can't modify. But there's lots of different ways of skinning a cat. Another thing you'll notice is that the add to cart button is very easy and distinct to see. It stands out because it's a different color, it's big, and it's bold. There's a test you always want to apply on any page that you do. It's called the Squint Test. If you squint your eyes and to where you're almost trying to make it look like you're sleeping, and you look at the page, what's the one thing that pops out? And if the call to action button, which in this case is add to cart, is not the thing that pops out, change it, make it, and like even using Owen's example from the session from yesterday, A/B tested. It doesn't always have to be a specific color. In this case, we A/B tested the green button. We also A/B tested the same red button. And normally red means stop, danger, go away. So I'm very hesitant to use a red button when we want them to go forward. But we actually found more people were clicking the red button than the green button. So you just have to do those kind of tests as well to go through this. Now, the same thing goes with your descriptions. If you have lots of very similar products, it's very tempting to use the same descriptions for multiple products. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to make sure that Google has a very clear understanding about what this product is and what's different about it. So instead of having to write custom descriptions for 8,000 different possible designs, we ended up using language strings that took the specific names and the different models and actually generated these automatically, so they're all unique and different to each product and not have to worry about it. And then as we scroll down, you'll notice that we have this other menu that automatically scrolls down to take them to the various different areas on the site and so on. So there's a lot that goes into this. You want to be able to have your phone number, social media, these things on every page, especially in your footer, because it helps reassure customers that you're not just there to steal their credit card and give them a poor experience. You want to be able to show them that you're not afraid to have your phone number and have somebody call you. You're not afraid to have somebody start a live chat and be able to go through all that. So I could talk about this for hours. I can go through this for hours. Those that have been on previous talks know that I can keep on going. But with that being said, I'll actually give a few minutes for anybody that has any questions or so on. And whatever I can do to help you guys. I've been doing this for a long time. If it wasn't for a lot of the Joomla community, I don't know where I would be. I definitely wouldn't be where I'm at today. So whatever I can do to help pay it forward and help those that could use help like I did, don't hesitate. Reach out. And those that have know that I have no problem in sharing anything I've done or showing you exactly how I did it, because this is a community and we all help each other, and the strength of the community is the strength of us.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam. We got a question from Andy about um, the plugin that you created to automatically add the coupon.
Yes.
Um, which e-commerce carts does it integrate with, and would you consider releasing it on GitHub?
Yeah, we're I actually have started releasing some of these, or we're about to on a venture. Some of these we're going to just throw out for free, and others may be a very minimal fee. But what this particular one works for is J2 Store. I shifted a lot in the last couple years to using J2 Store as my primary shopping cart extension, and the biggest reason is because they use so much of the Joomla core, which I'm a firm believer in, that less is more. And once you're able to figure out how everything in that area works, it really opens a door where you can do whatever you want. But we are thinking about releasing it for possibly Hickashop and Virtue Mart as well. We're going to see how the interest goes with this. But these are very I don't want to say minor, but they're not very heavy plugins that can really actually do a lot of heavy lifting and promotions. And during the holiday season, having these on through emails and being able to have somebody click a promotion and automatically apply the coupon removes so much friction from the shopping experience. And I know without a doubt, and just looking at the numbers, that we definitely generated a lot more sales this year using this than we did in years prior.
Okay, so you find the banner and the coupon to be a very effective combination?
Yeah, because the coupon code, it's not just limited to the website. When you're doing emails, for instance, if let's say you were using J2 Store for your promotions, and you were able and you had a coupon code for a certain promo or even a certain product, you can add that code into the link to that particular product or your store in general, and when they click on that link, it'll automatically apply the coupon code directly to their cart. So it removes an extra step or two of what was that coupon code. They have to go back in the email, and we all know once you get back in your email to look for something, there's another email that pops up that then distracts us, and now we've just lost that customer. So anything that we can do to keep them on the site, keep them excited about it, and move to the checkout and complete the checkout, we want to be able to remove anything that takes them off that yellow brick road.
I've got a couple of comparison questions for you.
Sure.
Any reason you prefer J2 Store over Virtumart?
Yeah, the answer to that is, and it goes back to what I mentioned just a little while ago. The reason J2 Store for me that I prefer, and I started off with Virtue Mart. So my first, let's say 7.5, 8 years doing this was only Virtue Mart. So I'm very familiar with it. But first of all, I'll just say this: anything can work if you really make it work. But for me, because J2 Store uses a lot of the Joomla core, for instance, instead of having 200 extra tables in the database, it has far less, but it integrates a lot with using articles. And so for me, custom fields is something that I have been using in articles and my products, even adding tags in. All these features combined together make it a lot easier to integrate with a J2 Store product than any other cart that I found. Now, I haven't had a lot of experience with Hickashop or any of the others out there, so I don't want to speak for any of the others. The two with Joomla that I am very familiar with is Virtue Mart and J2 Store. And the reason I switched to J2 Store originally is I was looking for a way to offer product subscriptions for customers. I had a client that wanted to offer product subscriptions, which is different than online subscriptions. And J2 Store had something that was close enough that it was close enough to get me to where I needed to get to, and that's where I realized the brilliance of using something that's already there. That as Joomla expands, as Joomla gets better, then by default, if you're using that with a lot of your other third-party extensions, it will make those third-party extensions better as well. So you're able to help in that process as well. Now, I haven't used Virtumart in the last couple of years, so they could have changed. But when I switched over, that's the reason why I've really stuck with J2 Store.
The other comparison question is J2 Store or Hika Shop? Not
You
sure.
know, that's a good question, and I can't answer that one because I haven't had enough experience with the second. So I wish I could answer that question, but you know, I've found for me that once I find something that works, I try and not just make it work 100%, but make it work 250%. So if there was ever a reason that I had to look elsewhere because J2 Store couldn't do something, then I probably would find myself in another, you know, Joomla type cart that can provide it. But so far, I haven't been able to, you know, find a problem or a challenge that I haven't been able to handle with this.
Okay, question from Stephen. And we
Yes.
actually had a full presentation on this yesterday from Owen on Google Optimize. Stephen's question is, how do you do split testing? You said you found out that red buttons work better than green, for example.
Yeah, using Optimize, you can actually just change the CSS of the color of the button and check that out. Also, if it's too much bandwidth for you or for anybody on that's listening to have to learn how to set that up as well, you can also, especially if you know what your sales are on let's say a weekly basis, you can switch it one week, change the color of the button, and the next week change the color of the button. It's not the best way, but it's if you have pretty consistent sales on a regular basis, it's very easy for you. And if you don't, then you got nothing to lose by changing the color and testing stuff out. Either way, it's one of those things where, you know, certain things like the buttons, you want to, if you notice, just looking at the screenshot right now, there's two things that I want them to do. One is to choose their options, which is basically taking them up. And the other happens to be down here where if in the event that I don't get the sale, I at least want them to give me their email address. Both of these are very stand out, as well as the top red banner that follows everywhere. These are very specific colors because you don't want to use a certain color for, you know, if there's a title, for instance, you don't want to use red for the title. You want to keep red for the call to action, things that you want people to do in this case, or whatever your primary call to action color turns out to be.
And I think this is the final question and might be a very appropriate one to end on. Is Adam on Twitter?
I am on Twitter. Well, let me just rephrase that. I have a presence on Twitter. I'm not sure how much value you'll get out of that, but I am planning. Every once in a while, I do find something really cool, and I'll throw it on there. And by all means, let me. Where's my?
Is there a social network you're more active on?
You know, I've been so busy lately. To be honest, I'm like the hair cutter that just doesn't have time to cut his own hair. But I I'll put my information up. So for those of you that do want to start following me, or at least email me if you have questions, by all means, you're more than welcome to do so. And here's my contact information. You're more than welcome to send me that. And if you go to my website, you can see everything. And just so you know, that website that you see on the page, that was built 100% with core Joomla template. Everything that you see on there is built with articles and tags. And you can see other e-commerce projects that I've done. And if there's anything on there that you see that you say, hey, how did you do that? Or can you show me how to do that, or whatnot? I'm not one that's worried about you know, giving away secrets. This is the only way this works is for more of us to be able to show that Joomla does have a very thriving and supportive community like we always have, and that especially in the e-commerce space, that we can not only compete, but we can do better than a lot of the others that tout themselves as being more e-commerce specific.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Adam. That
You
was a
got
great
it. Thank you,
presentation.
Steve. All right, guys, it's been a pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your day.